You want to learn and speak the language, and you know that you need to learn more words so you can speak more, but memorizing words is boring and painful work. But what if you could skip that hard work and quickly review words in minutes a day, and actually remember them in the long run? Keep watching. In this guide, you'll discover all about spaced repetition learning and how it makes remembering easy, how to use the spaced repetition flashcards inside our system, and how to customize your learning with the flashcards. But first, if you don't yet have access to our language learning system, sign up for a free lifetime account right now. Just click the link in the description to get your free lifetime account. So let's jump in. I'll guide you through our learning system, so you get to see exactly what's inside and our members-only study tools. But first, what are spaced repetition learning and spaced repetition flashcards? First, we need to define spaced repetition learning. Spaced repetition is where your learning gets spaced out over time, where if you learn a new phrase today, you take a break and come back on another day to review it, then again in a few days, and so on. Why? First, you need repetition to learn anything. And second, your brain remembers better if you come back after periods of time, because if you tried to cram all at once, you'd never remember anything in the long run. Spaced repetition helps you remember in the long run, and it's backed by science. And spaced repetition flashcards apply that spaced repetition method to help you learn the language and remember it for good. Okay, so let's take a look at how to use the spaced repetition flashcards inside our system. First, where do you find them? So to find these spaced repetition flashcards, you can go to the vocabulary drop-down menu from any page on the website and click on flashcards right here. So when you click on this, you'll find a menu appear. And inside the menu, you'll find all of your flashcard decks available. So in this case, we have a few on this page, but you'll see basically any deck that you've already created. So that could be like a core word list. So you might have access to like the 2000 core word list, and you might have a flashcard deck made for that. Great. You might have some specific flashcard decks that you yourself have created. That's also great. But for today, I want to take a look at this one, this core 100 word deck. Everybody has access to this one. So if you are a free member, if you're a paid member, doesn't matter. You'll be able to access these 100 core words for the language you're studying. So you'll see a little bit of information on the first part of this deck right here on this kind of cover page here. And then to begin your study session, you can click on the study button. So when you do this, you'll get a little bit more information about what you're about to study so that you know that you're not going to study forever. And you're going to see in this example I'm about to show you that depending on the settings that you have, which we'll talk about a little bit later, you'll get some different information to help you remember the vocabulary that you're working on. So for now, let's just click Start Session and we can take a look at what is in front of us. So first we have 9, the word 9. So this is obviously the definition of something. So 9 is as in the number 9, the number that comes after 8 and before 10. So when you think you have it correct inside your mind, or maybe you say it out loud, you can click on Show Answer. Once you do this, it will give you the answer. It will give you some information. It will give you like an example sentence, and you have the option, depending on your settings again, to click Incorrect or Correct. This part is really, really important. If you got it incorrect, make sure that you click the Incorrect button. If you got it correct, great, you can click that. So for this, we'll click Correct. Let's take a look at this next one. So lamb is the next one here. A lamb is a baby sheep. That's one way to understand this. So I'll click on Show Answer. But in this case, let's say I got it incorrect, right? Let's say I didn't recognize the vocabulary word lamb. That's okay. So I would click on Incorrect here, and we just go on to the next word. So it's not like there's a penalty when you mark something as correct or incorrect. Rather, when you mark something as correct or incorrect, you are telling the spaced repetition flashcard system, this word is okay for me, or this word is not okay for me. So when you're marking something as incorrect, it's telling the system, I need to study that more. So that's a way for the system to know, okay, I should show you this vocabulary word some more. Okay, so let's take a look at one more, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the different settings and other features that you can use to make sure that you get the most out of these flashcards. So this is the second month of the year, another definition that we have. We show the answer. I think it's probably February here. So we show the answer, February, second month of the year. Great, I'm correct, so I'll mark it as correct. Okay, so let's take a look now. I'll end this session here, but ideally you'll finish all of the vocabulary words in each session when you begin. dig in. But for now, I want to talk a little bit about the different settings that you can use to make sure that you get the most out of these flashcards. So as I said before, these flashcard decks that are on the screen right now are unique to this account that we are using to create this video. But you can create your own flashcard decks, of course, and they will all appear here. Let's take a look, though, up here at the Settings button. You'll notice that there are a lot of different things that we can change here. First, I want to talk a bit about this card types section up here on the right. So we just practiced using like a definition for something and then saying the word that is associated with that definition, right? So this is one way that you can use the flashcards for your studies. But by toggling these, you can enable other types of study. So listening comprehension means you will hear the word and then you have to give the definition, or maybe the other side, like we just practiced with the actual definition. You might hear the definition and then have to give the word, and so on. So by toggling these different features, you can get different types of study for your vocabulary studies. So this is one part of kind of like the way that you can customize your studies. On the other side, however, we have these more general settings. So that means that if you want to like have an image show along with your flashcard, if you want to have the part of speech show or not show, that means if you want it to be clearly labeled as like a noun or a verb or whatever, you can enable or disable that here. Another really interesting feature that I want to talk about, though, is this answer interface section right here. So it says auto, scale, and buttons. So the feature that I just showed you, or rather the study method I just showed you, had an incorrect and a correct option, right? After you do your study session or after you study that one vocabulary word. But if you click on the scale option and save that, I'll also turn off listening comprehension just to go back to the original settings we had. This will enable a kind of spectrum for your answer. So if you feel like it was really, really hard, you can kind of mark that on the spectrum. So I want to show you what this looks like. So we'll go back to the same deck to study and take a look at that. So I'll start the session. And we'll do the same thing here. So here we have programmer, a noun, okay? So I can guess that I need to provide the definition in this case. So somebody who writes code for software and other computer applications. Okay, so I'll show the answer. So in this case, I got it correct. That's great. So, but you'll notice here down at the bottom, there's a scale now. Instead of just buttons, you can kind of mark how confident you were in your answer. So in this case, I feel very, very confident that my answer was correct. But in situations where you don't feel so confident, you can also do that. So I'll click up here at the top of correct for this one. I feel very confident about that. And go on to the next one, hand in this case. So hand, I'm guessing that probably means the part of the body. I'm guessing that this is probably not the verb to hand something because this is the core 100 word deck. And I'm guessing this is probably the body part. So we'll go to show answer. And again, it is the portion of the body starting from the wrists. Okay, great. But let's say that I made a mistake with this one, or let's say that I wasn't really so sure. I could mark that. I could click here anywhere on this spectrum to help the system understand my level of confidence about that vocabulary word. And by doing so, that tells the system how much I need to see that word or how little I need to see that word in the future. So this is how the system remembers your specific answers and thus knows which word to show you next and which words maybe you don't need to see so much coming up in the future. So this is a really, really good way to make sure that you're studying really efficiently. And then, when you need to study again in 5 days or in a week, in a month or whatever, that you're studying the things that are actually still challenging to you and you're not just reviewing things that you're already really, really familiar with and really comfortable with, but you're always making progress. So the spaced repetition flashcards are a really good way to do this. And if you combine this, say with, for example, like the 2000 core word list or a specific word list that you find on the website that you really want to practice, this can be a really great way to make sure that your study sessions are super efficient and that you get the most out of all of the tools that we have available for you. So if you want to speak more of your target language, you'll need to know more words and phrases. And the best way to learn and actually remember all the words is through spaced repetition flashcards. So if you want to learn the language and get access to these learning tools and our learning system, sign up for a free lifetime account right now. Just click the link in the description to get your free lifetime account. If you're learning a language, you're constantly coming across new words and forgetting them right after, which is too bad because your language would have been so much better if you could hold on to those words and remember them. Now, you could write them down, or if you're learning with our system, you can just save them to your extended brain, the word bank, with just one click. And in this video, you'll discover 1. All about the word bank, 2. How to save keywords and phrases, and 3. Easy ways to review the words so that you never forget them. But first, if you don't yet have access to our language learning system, sign up for a free lifetime account right now. Just click the link in the description to get your free lifetime account. So let's jump in. I'll guide you through our learning system so you get to see exactly what's inside and our members-only study tools. Okay, so let's get into it. What is the word bank? The word bank is a premium study tool that you can use so that you have a really easy way to collect all of the new words and phrases and sentences that you pick up in your studies. So you can think of it kind of like an extension to your brain. So you can use this to help make sure that you review the words and expressions that you actually need to review. You can keep words that are interesting to you here, whatever it is you want to do with it. It's a very flexible tool. So first, let's take a look at where we find this tool, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how we can use it and some different kinds of study resources that you can get from this one thing. So first, where do we find the word bank? If you click on the vocabulary menu, or just hover over vocabulary menu and then click on word bank, you can find the word bank page. Also, if you are using the app, you can find the link for this in the dashboard too. So this will give you the word bank page. So on the word bank page, you have a few bits of information about each of the things that are there. You've got some audio icons that you can press. You've got the word, the part of speech, the definition, the meaning of the word. Depending on the language, you will also have the translation, and you will also have at the end of the row this thing that says 3 lessons or 6 lessons or 5 lessons or whatever. So if you click on this, you will see all of the lessons that are related to that word, which is really helpful if you want to see like other ways that that word is used, or if you want some more example sentences and so on. So that's a really handy little tool. So let's talk about how words get into the word bank. There are 2 ways I want to talk about. First is for those of you who make a point to like study every day or a few times a week or whatever it is. If you take the lessons from your dashboard, like let's say we'll take this lesson here. If you take your lesson like every day or every week or something like that, you'll maybe have noticed that there is a vocabulary section in your lesson. So if you go to the vocabulary section and you pick a few things that you know you want to practice, like let's say you have a couple of expressions that you need to work on your pronunciation, or maybe they're just difficult for you to remember, or you thought they were interesting, whatever the reason is, you can select those words with this checkbox that's on the left of that section right there, the vocabulary section, and click Add to Word Bank. So once you do this, you'll get a message that says the words were added successfully, and the words are now in your word bank. Great. That is one way that you can add words to your word bank. The other way I want to talk about today, let's say you are using one of the vocabulary lists on our website for your studies. So if you go to the vocabulary drop-down menu, and we'll just choose like the 100 most common word lists for today, but you can do the same thing with any of the vocabulary lists on our website. You can find the same checkbox that's on the left of all of the vocabulary words here. So you can choose a few words and add them to your word bank. So let's say that I want to add, this word, laugh and make in this case. And so once you have these chosen, you can, from the top of the page or from this section that comes down if you're on the computer version, you can add all words to the word bank. If I click this, it says add all words. I can choose the word bank, which will add all of the words in the list, or I can click on add selected words. So that's just the words I have selected and add those to my word bank. So I'll do that now, and I'll get a message that says they are there now. Great. Okay, so these are the 2 really easy ways that you can add things to your word bank. Let's go back to the word bank now and talk about some of the different features and kind of functionality here. So of course, if you just want to have like a quick glance at the words that you've added to your word bank, you can do that really easily here. If you want to do, practice with the audio files, if you want to practice your pronunciation at different speeds, great, you can do all of that here. You can just read through the list if you want to do that, fine. But I want to talk about some other things that you can do from this page. So the first thing I want to talk about is making a flashcard deck from your word bank. So if I just don't have no words selected here now, if I want to click this right now, sync to flashcards, nothing will happen. So in order to create a flashcard deck from my word bank, I need to select words. So if you've run into this problem, make sure you have selected words from your word bank. So you can select all of them with this checkbox up here at the top, or you can just select a few words like this and choose the ones that you want to study at that moment, and then click sync to flashcards. it will think for a minute, and then it will take you to your flashcard page. And then once this loads up, you'll see a My Word Bank flashcard deck. So this will have all of the flashcards that you have asked it to sync to this deck. So if you want to make flashcards in this way from your word bank, this is a super, super easy way to do it to make sure you're studying only the words that are like specific to you that you want to know right now. So this is one way that you can use your word bank and the study tools inside it. Okay, so let's go back to the word bank now. And I want to talk about this section right here. This section says labels. So we don't have any in this case, but what you can do with the words in your word bank is assign them different labels. So if you want to have a label that says like verbs or adjectives or something like that, or if you have like a specific hobby or a specific category of word, you can label those words so that you always are able to easily see which words belong to that group. So for example, if you want to study only the verbs in your word bank, you can choose only the verbs from your list and like sync them to a flashcard deck if you want to. So if you want to be like really super organized about your words in that way, you have that functionality from this page as well. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is for those of you who like to have something physical to use with your studies, like a worksheet kind of thing where you can actually write or maybe use a highlighter or use different colors, that kind of thing. You can also make a physical printout of this information with this button right here. If you go to the printer-friendly version and click this, you will get this kind of output. So it's a really, really, really super simple just list of all of the words and the information about those words that you can print out. And again, you can change this. You can put another one together next week and make a totally different word bank printout if you want to as well. So this is something that you can use to easily just get a printable version of your word bank. Then the last thing that I want to talk about is this export word bank button. If you want to get this word bank but in a different format, you can do that from this section. So if you click on Export Word Bank, you can choose to export it from PDF version. You can do it as a CSV. You can do it as XML. And if you have labels on your words, you can also choose to select those here as well. So there are a few different things that you can do with the word bank. So as you can see, hopefully you can see that there are a lot of different things that you can do with just this one tool. And hopefully all of them are just, different ways that you can study those words and remember them for longer. And they're also really, really easy to integrate into your existing lesson flow. So if you're not using the word bank to help you remember interesting words or difficult words, or just things that you want to practice a little bit more, now you have some great ideas and you can get started right away. So if you're tired of forgetting all the new words you come across, take advantage of the word bank. It's your extended brain, where you can save all the words you come across and review them with a quick glance. So if you want to learn the language and get access to these learning tools and our learning system, sign up for a free lifetime account right now. Just click the link in the description to get your free lifetime account. Hi everybody, welcome back to Ask Alicia, the weekly series where you ask me questions and I answer them. Maybe. Let's get to your first question this week. First question this week comes from Khaled. Hi, Khaled. Khaled says, you explained the difference between why did you do that and why would you do that? So is why would you do that the same as why will you do that? Thank you. Good question. Yeah. Why would you do that versus why will you do that? So first, the short answer to your question is no. We don't say, why will you do that? Actually, why will you do that is generally not a sentence pattern we use. So to go back a little bit, you said, I initially at first talked about the differences in another video about why did you do that and why would you do that? Yeah. So why did you do that is a question about a past action, right? Something that happened in the past and we want to know the reason for it, right? Why did you do that? And then why would you do that refers to an unreal action or refers to something that we don't understand. So when we use this to talk about past actions, we're like, I can't understand why. Why the reason for this? And we might use why would you do that? Why would you do that? To talk about something that we don't understand. So I think I said something similar to that in a previous video. So let's expand on that. Let's continue this with kind of a future tense question then, right? So you've suggested, why will you do that? But we would not say, why will you do that? Instead, we would say something like, why are you going to do that? And the reason for this goes back to the difference between will and going to in terms of grammar points. So I've said it a lot on this channel, but when we use will and won't, we tend to use them for decisions we make in the moment, yeah? Or decisions we're not 100% sure about. Like when you go to a restaurant for lunch and you're thinking and you're like, I think I'll have the salad. I will have the salad, right? We just decided in that moment, yeah? Or when you're thinking about something way, way, way off in the distant future, you're like, I think there will be flying cars in the future. Like you're not so sure about it, but you kind of want to make a guess about it, right? So let's think about this in terms of this question. Why will you do that versus why are you going to do that? If you ask this question, someone else has told you a plan, right? Like I'm moving to a new city and you want to know why. Why will you do that? Doesn't make sense, right? Because the other person has decided on their plan. They are moving to the new city. They did not decide in that conversation to move to the new city, right? So will sounds strange to respond with, yeah? Why will you do that? We use this for kind of in-the-moment decisions and for things we're not sure about in the distant future, right? On the other hand, going to is used to talk about those 100% sure decisions, yeah? Why are you going to do that? Sounds much more natural than why will you do that? So for this reason, we would not say, why will you do that here? We'd say, why are you going to do that? Or maybe, why did you decide to do that, right? It's like saying, I understand this is your decision and I just want to know the reason for it. Of course, you could just say, oh, why, as well, if you don't want to think about these kinds of things. So this is the difference between why will you do that and why are you going to do that. I definitely recommend you use why are you going to do that if you find yourself in this situation. So I hope that this answers your question about using the sentence pattern to talk about those future tense situations. Thanks very much for sending it along. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Selena. Hi, Selena. Selena says, what is the difference between famous and popular? Can I use them the same? Great question. They are not the same. You cannot use them the same, but there is some overlap. Let's start by talking about the word famous. So famous as an adjective means something or someone that many, many, many people know about. Millions of people know about. Like everyone in your city, everyone in your country, everyone in the world for super famous people, right? So when someone or something is famous, lots of people know about it. This does not mean that it's good or that everybody likes it or that it's bad either. It just means lots of people know about it, okay? So this can be a place like, oh, that's a very famous landmark in our city, or Beyonce is a very famous singer, right? So we're just saying that many people know about that thing. Popular, on the other hand, refers to someone or something that many people like. So many people think that thing is good or think that person is good. So maybe in your high school, for example, you knew the most popular girl in school, or maybe you know the most popular restaurant in your neighborhood. So something that is popular is something that many people like, but just because it's popular does not mean it is famous, right? So it can be popular in your friend group, right? Many people in your friend group enjoy something. Or maybe many people in your city enjoy this one place that you like to go as well. This is a very popular park or a very popular activity. So something that is popular is not always famous, right? So don't think of them in terms of exactly the same, right? But sometimes something that is famous is also something that is popular. So for example, Taylor Swift is very famous and she's also very popular, right? Many people like her music, they like her work. So sometimes there is an overlap. Sometimes something or someone that is famous is also popular. But something that is popular is not always famous. Like probably the most popular girl in your high school probably is not famous. Maybe someone out there found a famous person from their high school. But just keep in mind there is a little bit of overlap, but they are not always the same. Also, sometimes we like to use famous as a little joke about things that are popular inside our communities. We tend to do this a lot with food. Like you might say, this is my famous chocolate cake recipe. It doesn't mean that the world knows about the chocolate cake recipe. It just means that many people around you really, really like like that chocolate cake. So this is the difference between famous and popular. Thanks for sending this question along. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Zhao. Hi, Zhao. Zhao says, can I say, if you will go, I will go? I want to tell my friend that I'll decide on my plan after them. Is this correct? Okay, great question. Is this correct? So you have, if you will go, I will go. Very, very close. So this is not quite correct. When you use a conditional sentence like this, so if something, then something else, we do not use that future tense verb in the if part of the sentence. So in this sentence, you have in your if part of your sentence, the if clause, if you will go. We do not use will. We do not use any future tense verb in that part of the sentence. We only use that in the main clause, the part that does not have an if. So this sentence should be, if you go, I'll go. So I will is in the main clause only. So this is a very, very common but very easy to fix mistake among learners. Just don't put your will or going to in the if clause when you're making these conditional statements. So if you go, I'll go. Or if you go, then I'm going to go too. You can use either, but just don't put that in the if clause of your sentence. Let's take a look at another example with a different verb. If you cook dinner, then I'll help you prepare. So in this sentence, we also have that future tense will at the end in the main clause, right? But we don't have it in the first clause, in the if clause here. So we shouldn't say, if you will cook dinner, I will help you prepare. We don't need to use will in both clauses, only in the main clause. So this is a quick bit of grammar review about conditionals. If you want some more information about conditionals, I definitely recommend you do a quick search of our videos for conditionals and if sentence patterns. You will find lots of lessons about this topic. So I hope that answers your question. Thanks for sending it along. Okay, that is everything that I have for this week. Thank you, as always, for sending your great questions. Remember, you can send them to me at englishclass101.com/ask-Alicia. Also, there is a link for this in the YouTube description. Please send me your questions to the official question submission page. I will definitely see your question there. If you send it in a YouTube comment or Facebook comment, Instagram, Twitter, wherever else, I probably won't see it. So please send it to the official page where I will definitely see it, and it may become a part of this series forever. Amazing. All right, so if you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Also, check us out at englishclass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this week's episode of Ask Alicia, and I will see you again next time. Bye.
Are you struggling to understand conversations in your target language? This video will improve your listening skills using practice dialogues. How do you know if your language skills are improving? Our team of teachers have designed a free quiz to determine your actual learning level. So click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for you. In this lesson, you'll listen to a dialogue with the text. Second, you'll review the key vocabulary, followed by the English translations. And finally, you'll review the dialogue with the text again to master what you learned. First, listen to the dialogue with the text on the screen.
Finally, a bit of warmth. Miami is such a wonderful city.
Enjoy it while you can. We're scheduled to take off in an hour.
Why couldn't we have 2 days off here instead of in Denver?
Don't worry about it. We have a 12-hour layover at our next stop, so you can enjoy the warmth a bit more there.
Our next stop is Atlanta, right?
Right.
Now you'll hear the key vocabulary, followed by the English translation.
Finally.
After a long time.
Finally. Finally. Warmth.
The quality, state, or sensation of being warm.
Warmth. Warmth. Wonderful.
Extremely good. Amazing.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Enjoy.
To have a good time.
Enjoy. Enjoy. while,
During the time that.
while, while. Layover,
A period of rest or waiting before a further stage in a journey.
layover, layover. Scheduled,
Describing something that has been planned.
scheduled, scheduled. Take off,
The action of becoming airborne.
take off, take off. Instead,
As an alternative or substitute.
instead, instead. Rather,
Used to indicate preference.
rather, rather. Spend,
Pay out money in buying.
spend, spend. Hour,
Belonging to us.
hour, hour.
Finally, let's review the dialogue again. See if you can understand more this time.
Finally, a bit of warmth. Miami is such a wonderful city.
Enjoy it while you can. We're scheduled to take off in an hour.
Why couldn't we have 2 days off here instead of in Denver?
Don't worry about it. We have a 12-hour layover at our next stop, so you can enjoy the warmth a bit more there.
Our next stop is Atlanta, right?
Right.
This is the end of the lesson. In this lesson, you improved your listening and mastered key vocabulary for everyday life conversation. Don't forget to click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for your learning level. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to report speech in detail. This lesson will cover some vocabulary words you can use to be more specific about how you report speech, and we'll also talk about some patterns you can use for making questions. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing I want to focus on for this lesson is vocabulary. So I've created a list of vocabulary words. These are all verbs, and these are all words we use to report speech. So the most common are probably here at the top: say, tell, talk, speak. So we use these words as kind of the basic ways to report speech. We have the past tense form of the verb on the right side. So I want to go through each verb one by one and talk about how and why we use it, and talk about some other small points related to these verb choices. So let's begin with the first verb, say. So say is the most basic way to report speech. It's a very neutral verb choice. The past tense form is said, said, not said, but said. So let's look at an example sentence with this. He said he was coming to the meeting. He said he was coming to the meeting. Here we have said used. It's in past tense because this statement happened. So this information was given to the speaker. So we use say in the past tense form here to report this information. He was coming to the meeting. So in these sentences, when we use said, we're just giving a neutral report of speech. It doesn't sound good or bad, or it doesn't sound like there's a specific type of conversation happening. It's just a very neutral report. So this is what we use say to do. He said he was coming to the meeting. You will also notice in many of today's sentences as well that the verb here that we use here to report this is in past tense. He said he was coming to the meeting. He said he was coming to the meeting. So that means that in the past, according to his past statement, he was planning to. So at that time, in the past, he was planning to come. So he was coming to the meeting. So we'll see this past tense verb used here in situations like this. Okay, so this is our most basic way to report speech. In today's lesson, I want to talk about ways to level up from just this verb. So let's move on to a couple more review verbs, and then we'll talk about some more detailed ways to express how people talk. Okay, so the next verb is tell. Tell. Past tense is told. So we use the verb tell in situations where we're expressing kind of a one-way transfer of information. If there are two people in a situation and one person is giving most of the information, we would probably use tell to describe that. Like person A told person B the information. We use tell a lot when we're asking for information mostly from one person or when we're just getting information from one person. So it has this kind of one-way feel. So let's look at an example sentence that uses tell. Here, my friend told me a secret. My friend told me a secret. So here we have, again, past tense, my friend told me a secret. So this expresses that this situation is finished. This is done in the past. My friend told me a secret. So in this sentence and with other uses of the verb tell, after this told, you'll see the recipient of the information, the person who received the information. In this case, it's me. My friend told me a secret. You could change this to change the recipient, like my friend told him a secret, or my friend told her a secret. My friend told us a secret. So you can change the recipient right here. So my friend told me a secret. Sounds like my friend did most of the talking, and I just listened to the secret. So this is what we use tell to do. Okay, let's go to the next verb, talk. Talk. So talk in past tense is talked. Talked. So let's take a look at an example sentence first here. I talked to him about the report yesterday. I talked to him about the report yesterday. So after talked, we have two preposition choices. We have to or with. People ask, like, what's the difference between the two? Generally, there isn't one. But if you want a little bit more of a feeling of a conversation, like two or more people talking together about something, you can use with. But generally speaking, to or with, both are fine to use here. A pronunciation point then too. I read this sentence very clearly. I talked to him. However, in everyday native speech, we make these sounds come together. I talked to him becomes I talked to him. I talked to him. So this talked is not clearly pronounced, this part, the end word, or the end syllable here. I talked to him about the report yesterday. So it becomes I talked to him, I talked to him, or I talked to her, I talked to her. So talked to or talked with is like said. However, it's not just a report of something. When we say I talked to or I talked with someone, it's like it's showing there was a conversation, right? Here, in this case, the conversation is about the report, yeah? So I talked to him about the report. Sounds like there was a conversation, but I don't need to share all the details. I just want to show that there was a conversation. I talked to him. We can express it with this verb, I talked to him. Let's compare talked to the next verb, which is speak, speak. In past tense, it is spoke, spoke. So let's look at the example sentence here. She spoke with us after lunch. She spoke with us after lunch. So the first question is, what is the difference between talk and speak? Generally, talk is a little bit less formal than speak. So we use speak in work situations or professional situations, more formal situations. And we also use the verb speak to talk about our language abilities, like he speaks English or she spoke Spanish yesterday. So for this lesson, I want to just consider that spoke or speak in the infinitive form. Spoke is more formal. We tend to use this in like professional situations. So talked would also be 100% correct in this sentence. She talked with us after lunch. Perfect. And the same rule applies to the preposition that follows the verb. Talked to and talked with were both okay here. The same is true here. She spoke to us or she spoke with us. Both are okay to use. Again, with sounds a little bit more like the conversation is happening together. So she spoke with us after lunch. So we can use this verb choice to make the sentence sound a little bit more professional. Okay, great. So let's move on now to the next group of verbs. The first one is ask, and the past tense form is asked. Okay, so we use this when we need to make a question or we need to report that we asked a question. So let's look at the example. I asked my boss for some time off next week. I asked my boss for some time off next week. So here we have past tense asked, I asked, and after that is my boss in this case. So this is the person receiving the request. I asked my boss for. You'll notice this is the preposition used here. I asked my boss for some time off next week. We use this preposition for before a noun phrase. In this case, we have some time off. That's our noun phrase that's used here. You may also see to used here. I asked my boss to stop emailing me so much, for example. So if you have a verb that follows this, so if the request is about a verb, like to stop, or I asked my boss to do something, you need to use to, not for here. So for comes before your noun phrase. This part, after the verb, I asked someone for something, this part is the recipient of the request. A pronunciation point about this too. I said, I asked my boss, but in everyday speech, we don't pronounce it this clearly. I asked my boss becomes much, much shorter. It sounds like, I asked my boss for some time off last week. Okay, or next week, sorry. I asked my boss for some time off next week. So this asked is so quick, it sounds like, I asked my boss, I asked my boss. So it's like the D sound gets very, very, very small. I asked my boss. So try to reduce this sound down. Not I asked my boss, but I asked my boss for time off next week. Okay, let's move on to the next verb, which is discuss. Discuss. This is a great verb to know for professional and business English. So discuss and the past tense form discussed, discussed. So this is a nice polite word that means we had a conversation, and it sounds kind of like a professional conversation. So this is a great word to know for meetings and other kind of more formal discussions. So let's look at the example sentence for this. Our team discussed some problems yesterday. Our team discussed some problems yesterday. So here we have past tense discussed, and we have a noun phrase after it, some problems yesterday. Okay, so our team discussed some problems yesterday means our team talked about some problems yesterday. So what's the difference between discussed and talked about? As I mentioned, discussed sounds more professional. It sounds more polite, a little more polished. So our team discussed some problems yesterday sounds a little bit more business-like. So you can use this word if you want to make it sound a little bit more professional, your sentence. Of course, I talked about it, or our team talked about some problems is also great. It just sounds a little more casual. So it's up to you which you want to choose. Okay, great. So let's go to the last three in this first part of the vocabulary list. So the last three are here because they're actually verbs we use to describe how someone is speaking. So the first verb here is whisper. Whisper. To whisper means to talk in a very soft, very quiet voice. So here's an example. I'm whispering right now. I just whispered. So using a very, very quiet voice, this is called whispering. So the verb is to whisper. In past tense, it is whispered. So sometimes, especially when you're writing things, it can be really important to talk about how someone is speaking. So not just who they were talking with or if they had a discussion, but also how the person is speaking. So let's look at an example sentence. Let's leave soon, she whispered. Let's leave soon, she whispered. So we can imagine that this let's leave soon was said in a very, very quiet voice. Let's leave soon, she whispered. So this is telling us that a quiet voice was used. So if we had let's leave soon, she said, it would also be 100% correct. No problem there. However, whispered gives us a little bit more information about how she said it. So this might be very important for understanding the situation, especially in a book or in some kind of other story you're reading. So you can use whisper to talk about the manner in which someone says something. Okay, so we talked about a quiet voice, whisper, to whisper. Now let's go to the opposite end. So the last two verbs here are shout and scream. So to shout means to use a very loud voice. So sometimes we use a shouting voice when we're very angry or surprised or shocked. Sometimes when we're very excited. It means to use a very, very loud voice to say something. Okay? The past tense is shouted, shouted. So let's look at the example. My roommate shouted, yay, when he passed his test. My roommate shouted, yay, when he passed his test. So this use, shouted, shows that the yay was said in a very loud voice. Again, if you said, my roommate said yay when he passed his test, it's also correct, but it doesn't communicate the excited feeling that this sentence has. So this is a happy moment. So the roommate is probably very excited. Choosing the verb shout instead of said sounds a lot better because it matches the feeling that we're communicating here. Of course, you could make it interesting and choose a different verb, like my roommate whispered, yay, when he passed his test. This would sound like maybe he passed the test in the test room and he needed to be very quiet. So you can change the verbs that you use to express speech to be more specific and to give more detail about the situation. Okay, so let's look at our last verb, scream. Scream, to scream, and past tense, screamed. Okay, so what's the difference between shout and scream? Shout, as I said, is in like a really, really loud voice, like ah, or yay, as in this example. Or sometimes when we use an angry voice, or when we have angry feelings, we might shout about something. Or if we hurt ourselves, maybe, we might shout. A scream, however, a scream is a very loud sound that often is used in very scary situations or really, really shocking situations. So if you imagine a scary movie and somebody in the movie is injured or hurt or afraid, they will probably scream. So a scream is a very, very scary sound generally. It's like, ah, somebody is really, really scared, and it sounds different than just a shout. So a shout is like a big voice, yes, but a scream, generally the feeling of a scream is that something is really scary or really, really dangerous. You might also hear screams or use screaming at amusement parks, yeah? So scream is typically used for really, really shocking or really, really scary situations. You might also hear it when people get super, 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 super angry, so they go past shouting and they go to screaming. So if it helps you, you can kind of think of shout as here and scream at this level, yeah? And of course, say, tell, and talk are down here. Okay, so let's look at the example sentence. The soccer fans screamed at the referee. The soccer fans screamed at the referee. Okay, so in this situation, the soccer fans were really, really, really angry or maybe really, really shocked about the game. So they screamed at the referee. So this shows that they use this really, really angry, really, really like high-level, explosive way to communicate at the referee. You'll notice too, this preposition here, to scream at someone, to scream at someone. We use at as the preposition here. So this shows the direction of the scream, okay? So we don't use to. We don't say the soccer fans screamed to the referee. We do not do that. We use at. This shows the direction of the scream in this case, okay? Also, you could change this preposition. You could use with, which would show that the screaming is between the soccer fans and the referee together. The soccer fans screamed with the referee. Makes a grammatically correct sentence, but it communicates a totally different idea. If they're screaming together, maybe something terrible happened at the soccer game. I hope not. But when you use scream, show at to show the person receiving the scream, if it helps to think of it that way. Maybe in a horror movie, you could think of it in another way too, like the girl screamed at the murderer or something like that. That's kind of a dark example sentence, but we always use this at to show the direction of the scream. Or in another situation, maybe my boss screamed at me this morning. She was really upset. So this shows the direction. We use at in these cases. Okay, so we've talked about some key vocabulary words that we use to express speech. Last part here, the last thing I want to talk about with the vocabulary are a couple of really interesting ways that we express casual reports of speech. So in our everyday conversations, like outside work or outside of school, when we're talking with our close friends or our close family members, these are some expressions that we use to report speech. And they don't really mean something. It's more just that we want to use them as markers for speech. So let's take a look at this, see what I'm talking about here. So these are go and be, the verb be, all, and the verb be like. Be like. So we tend to use these in past tense a lot. You'll hear go and goes used, but you'll hear this in past tense too. So that means go becomes went, and be all becomes was or were all, and be like becomes was or were like. So this may seem really, really strange, and you might think, how would I ever use this? This doesn't make any sense. So I created a short example paragraph. Let's take a look at this, and we'll see how these are used to express speech casually. This is very, very quickly done in everyday native conversation. So let's take a look. First, I wanted to try to get to know my new coworker better. So I go, hey, you want to get a coffee sometime? And she was like, sounds great. So I was all, awesome. How about this weekend, Sunday? And she said, sounds good. Okay, so this short example uses this I go, was like, was all, and then I used a basic said at the end. So it's very common to use a mix of these kind of marker words for speech. So was all or was like. These don't mean like a comparison. They don't have a specific meaning. We just use them to mark the speech. If you use said over and over and over, it can sound very repetitive. For example, I wanted to try to get to know my coworker better. So I said, hey, you want to get a coffee sometime? And she said, sounds great. So I said, and you use said and said and said many, many times, it can sound quite repetitive. So to avoid this, we tend to use a mix of these expressions. So I go, and you'll notice that this go is not used in past tense, even though we're talking about the past, right? So we're using this go. This is sometimes used to mark the beginning of the past conversation. Like this person is showing the first request or the first question in the conversation, the beginning of the conversation. So you may see go used in that way. And you may also see it used from time to time here and there to show a response as well. But again, this verb tense isn't super important. We're just using this word as a marker for the next part of speech. In this case, the quote comes right after it, yeah? So don't think too hard about the meaning of this go. It's more like saying, I go or I went, I took my turn in the conversation, if that helps you. So it's kind of like saying it was my turn, so I went next in the conversation. That's kind of how we use this go. Same thing with this was like and was all. So we're not comparing anything, we're not talking about parts of something. These are just speech markers, but they're very, very common. And if you watch English-speaking media, you will hear these all the time. They are so common. So definitely keep an ear out for these, listen for these. And they sound very, very fast. So I read this very slowly, but let's have a listen. Let's hear what they sound like at native speed. So I wanted to try to get to know my new coworker better. So I go, hey, you want to get a coffee sometime? And she was like, sounds great. So I was all, awesome. How about this weekend, Sunday? And she said, sounds good. So these was like and was all parts become very short. And she was like, and I was all. So these sound very, very short. But because we're so used to using these to mark our speech, they sound very natural to us after a while. So try to listen for these when you watch US or any other kind of English-speaking media. We use these words a lot in American English to mark our speech, and you will definitely hear it throughout your studies. So I definitely recommend you take some time to get familiar with these sounds and how to use them yourself. Okay, so with our vocabulary done, I want to finish this lesson by looking at some questions. So we can use question patterns when we report speech and when we want to ask about speech too. So of course, this lesson is about reporting speech in detail, yes, but we also need to have questions ready too to continue the conversation about speech. So let's take a look at a couple of grammar points that we can use to help us do this. The first point is embedded questions. Embedded question. What is an embedded question? An embedded question is a question inside another question. So here's a really good example of a very common type of embedded question. It's the do you know question. Do you know? Okay, so we ask do you know plus something when we need information from another person. For example, do you know where my keys are? Do you know where my keys are? Or do you know who has my bag? Do you know who has my bag? Or do you know what the password is? Do you know what the password is? And one more, do you know when the meeting is? Do you know when the meeting is? So you can see a pattern here, maybe. These start with these WH questions. Where, who, what, when in this case. And there's another pattern to be very, very aware of when you practice making embedded questions for the first time. That is this point. Be verbs move to the end of the question in embedded questions. So what does that mean? So let's look at this, and this. These three example sentences. These all have a be verb. We have are, is, and is. So think about these questions, these basic questions. Where my keys are? Well, that's not a grammatically correct question, right? When you are looking for your keys, you say, where are my keys, right? You say, where are my keys? Or in this sentence, not what the password is, but what is the password? What is the password, right? That's grammatically correct. In this sentence, when is the meeting? This is grammatically correct, right? However, when you put a question inside another question, these be verb questions take a different grammar rule. We move the be verb to the end. So not, do you know where are my keys? Or do you know what is the password? Or do you know when is the meeting? These verbs all move to the end of the question. That's a very strange rule, I know, but that's just how it is. So make sure to practice this. These are some super, super common ones that you can start with. So I highly recommend you practice these embedded questions, and this do you know pattern is a really, really great place to start. Okay, lastly, let's move along to present perfect questions. Present perfect questions. Of course, present perfect is a very good grammar point to know, a very important grammar point to know and to practice. We also need to practice making questions, and this is a good situation in which you can have some questions ready. So, have you is how you can begin your present perfect question. Have you plus the past participle form of these verbs we talked about. So earlier we practiced the simple past form, the past tense form of the verb. Here are the past participle forms of some of these verbs. So practice making some questions that use these verbs. Let's take a look at a few examples, some that you can use to get started. Have you said anything to anyone? Have you said anything to anyone? Or have you told anyone about this? Have you told anyone about this? So again, these two are asking someone for information about speech, right? So you're not just reporting the speech, you're asking for someone else's information about speech. Have you said anything to anyone? So that one is like maybe a little bit suspicious sounding, or maybe you're trying to keep a secret. Have you said anything to anyone? Or have you told anyone about this? Again, used for maybe a secret situation or a confidential or private situation. Have you told anyone about this? Or the next one, have you talked to her about the problem? Have you talked to her about the problem? So this might be some advice to someone. Have you talked to her or have you talked with her? The same preposition rule applies here. Have you talked to her about the problem? Or have you spoken with the client recently? Have you spoken with the client recently? So this is a good one to ask about the status of a client relationship. One more. Have you asked anyone for help? Have you asked anyone for help? So you can use these present perfect questions to get more information from people, for them to know that you need some more information relating to speech. So you're asking for reports maybe in these cases. So these are some great questions that you can use to start with, and they use present perfect tense, which I know is a very challenging grammar point for many people, but it's super important to practice. One point I want to end on about simple past. Simple past questions in these cases are okay. They're grammatically correct, yes. But the difference, they are usually used for situations that are finished or situations that are done. So the feeling with a simple past tense question in a situation like this is that the action is done, right? So for example, did you say anything to anyone? Did you say anything to anyone? It sounds like maybe you're talking about one situation in the past and it's complete. So in a meeting, did you say anything to anyone? However, this have you said anything to anyone means from some point in the past until now and maybe into the future also. So it means up until this time. Have you said anything? So did you doesn't communicate that same feeling. Did you sounds like a one-time question. Did you say anything? Or did you tell anyone about this? Sounds like it's over, it's finished. Have you told anyone? Sounds like in this time period and maybe continuing into the future. Have you told anyone about this? Like, do you have any plans to? So these are the subtle, very small differences in feeling that we can get if we just change the grammar a little bit. Another example, did you talk to her about the problem? Did you talk to her about the problem? So again, that sounds like a one-time thing in the past. Did you talk to her? As opposed to, have you talked to her about the problem? You could say, for example, not yet, but I'm going to. So have you questions sound a little bit more open-ended than did you questions. So again, both are grammatically correct, but they have slightly different feels. Okay, great. So I hope that this lesson gave you some ideas and gave you some vocabulary words that you can use to report speech in a more natural, smooth, and interesting way and in more detail. And of course, there are other verbs that we can use to describe the different ways that people speak. So you can definitely explore that as you build your vocabulary some more. If you have any questions or comments, or if you want to practice making some example sentences, please feel free to do so in the comment section of this video. Also, if you like this lesson, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Also, check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye! Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about compound sentences. Let's get started. Okay, first, what is a compound sentence? This is the first thing I want to look at in this lesson. A compound sentence is a sentence made from two simple sentences connected with a coordinating conjunction. So again, a compound sentence is a sentence made from two simple sentences connected with a coordinating conjunction. What does that mean? So let's break down these parts of this definition, and then we'll practice making some compound sentences. So a compound sentence is a great way to level up your sentence structure. Because there are two simple sentences inside a compound sentence, you can create longer sentences with more information. And this helps to give your writing and your speaking a different kind of rhythm. So let's break down this definition and see what we need to make a compound sentence. Okay? So first, we have a compound sentence is made from two simple sentences. So first, let's talk about what a simple sentence is. What is a simple sentence here? So a simple sentence is a sentence with a subject and a verb. A simple sentence can also be called an independent clause. The sentence is independent because it needs no other information. So, a simple sentence is the most basic type of sentence in English. So again, there's just a subject, like I or you or he or she, a subject, and a verb. So go or went or eat, and so on. So, the most basic type of sentence. This part mentions independent clauses. So an independent clause is a clause that doesn't need any other information. It can stand alone. That's why it's called an independent clause. So a simple sentence is an example of an independent clause. So we can use both expressions to refer to the same thing. A simple sentence and an independent clause have the same grammatical idea behind them. So let's look at some very, very simple examples of simple sentences. So here is the most simple one. I slept. It's just a subject and a verb. I slept. Here's my subject. Here's my verb in past tense, slept. So this is a super, super basic simple sentence. Okay, let's look at one a little bit more complex. He ate breakfast. He ate breakfast. Subject and my verb are both right here. In this case, we have an object. What did he eat? He ate breakfast. So these are both examples of simple sentences. They have subject and a verb. Okay, another one. They watched a movie. They watched a movie. So again, subject and verb in the sentence. It doesn't need any other information. It can stand by itself and we understand the information. Okay, let's make some that are a little bit longer now. So, the weather is cold and rainy today. The weather is cold and rainy today. So again, we have our subject, the weather, and then we have our verb, is in this case, so a be verb. And then we have a couple of adjectives, cold and rainy today. These describe our subject. But this is still considered a simple sentence. It's just with a subject and a verb. That's all it has, okay? And finally, one more. Her car made a strange noise. Her car made a strange noise. So subject, her car. Made is our verb, a strange noise. Okay? So a simple sentence just needs these two items, subject and verb, in order to be complete. This can be independent, right? It stands by itself. We don't need any other information to understand the sentence. Okay? So we need two of these to create a compound sentence. So that's why we're talking about simple sentences. We need two of these together with a coordinating conjunction. A coordinating conjunction. This is the next part for this lesson. What is a coordinating conjunction? So a coordinating conjunction is a word that joins words or phrases of the same grammatical level. The same grammatical level. So what does that mean? So this means that we put together, or we join words and we join phrases of the same grammatical type. So for example, we can use these words, these coordinating conjunctions, to join two simple sentences. So they're the same grammatical level, right? Simple sentence and simple sentence. They are the same, so we can join them with these words. So coordinating conjunctions are and, but, or, for, so, nor, and yet. So we can use these words to join simple sentences together, okay? So, of course, each of these different coordinated conjunctions gives us a different meaning. So, and is like adding information. But is showing the opposite of something. Or expresses two sides to something, two options. For is kind of a formal way to express a reason for something. So expresses cause and effect. We use it to show cause and effect between two ideas. Nor is not so commonly used in everyday speech in American English today, but it means not that other option. And finally, yet. Yet. You can think of yet as something like however or even though. Okay? So coordinating conjunctions are used to join two simple sentences. These are the pieces of a compound sentence. So we need to know about both of these in order to create one of these. So let's use this information to create some compound sentences. So that means sentences, again, with two simple sentences and a coordinating conjunction. Let's see what this looks like. So here are examples. First, I slept, but my brother stayed up. I slept, but my brother stayed up. Here, I slept is our simple sentence that we started with earlier. I slept. Subject, verb. Then we have coordinating conjunction right here. but in this case. So but is here. It's connecting the two ideas. My brother stayed up. My brother stayed up. So this part is also a simple sentence. My brother stayed up. We have a subject, my brother, and a verb, to stay up. My brother stayed up. So we have two simple sentences. I slept, my brother stayed up, and our coordinating conjunction connects the two. Okay? Let's look at another example. He ate breakfast, and she read the newspaper. He ate breakfast, and she read the newspaper. So we have this simple sentence, he ate breakfast, and we have our coordinating conjunction, in this case, and, followed by this simple sentence, she read the newspaper. She read the newspaper is also a simple sentence. Subject, she, and our verb, read. So we have these two ideas, simple sentences, joined by a coordinating conjunction. He ate breakfast and she read the newspaper. So another thing to keep in mind, especially when you're writing, is about this mark right here, this comma. So when you make a compound sentence like this, and you have a simple sentence on this side and a simple sentence on this side like this, your subject is here. You can see the subject in both parts, right? So both simple sentences include that subject. Use a comma. So when you have two simple sentences that are both complete sentences, you can use them together and connect them with a comma in this way, okay? Let's look at another example that follows this rule as well. So the next one, they watched a movie and we played video games. They watched a movie and we played video games. So they watched a movie, same as this example sentence here, is one item, and we played video games. So two groups. They watched a movie, we played video games. So here we have they and we. So our subjects, they are different here. And we have this comma before and as well too. So you can see when the two sentences stand alone like this, we played video games, they watched a movie, we can connect and then we add this comma here before the coordinating conjunction. Okay, let's go to another one. This one's a little bit longer. The weather is cold and rainy today, so I don't want to go outside. The weather is cold and rainy today, so I don't want to go outside. Okay, so here we have this same example sentence. The weather is cold and rainy today. And the next part is this so. So I mentioned we use so to show cause and effect. So in this case, the weather is cold and rainy today. That's the cause. The effect is, I don't want to go outside. I don't want to go outside. So here we have a negative, yeah? I don't want to go outside. This follows the same rule, the same compound sentence rule, the same simple sentence rule. I don't want to go outside is still an independent clause, right? We don't need any other information to understand. I don't want to go outside. We've connected it with so, and our comma is over here, before the coordinating conjunction. Okay? Let's look at the very last example here. So, her car made a strange noise. Her car made a strange noise, yet she didn't seem worried. Her car made a strange noise, yet she didn't seem worried. So we've got yet here, which again means like even though or despite that. So our first simple sentence is her car made a strange noise, which we saw earlier. Simple sentence here. Then she didn't seem worried. She didn't seem worried. So again, it's a negative like we had in the previous example, but it follows the same rule as a simple sentence, subject and verb, right? She didn't seem worried. So we connect the two with our coordinating conjunction and our comma. Okay, so this is how we make compound sentences. If you're having trouble making longer sentences and including more ideas inside one sentence, this is a great way to start practicing putting your ideas together. Just remember that you need these two parts to create a compound sentence. Two simple sentences plus a coordinating conjunction. And when you do this, if you're writing this, make sure that if you have your subject in both parts, that you connect and you use a comma before your coordinating conjunction. So compound sentences are a great way, of course, to improve your writing and to make sure that you have kind of interesting rhythms in your speech as well. It's important to use a mix as well. If you always use compound sentences, you might find that you have kind of an unnatural rhythm in your speech or in your writing. So you can use a mix of simple sentences, compound sentences, and other sentence types too. But this is a great place to start if you want to practice making some longer sentences. Okay, great. So I hope that this lesson was helpful for you. If you have any questions or comments, or if you want to practice making some example sentences with this information, please feel free to do so in the comments section of this video. If you like this lesson, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Also, check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye! Hi everybody, and welcome back to Top Words. My name is Alicia, and today we're going to talk about 10 ways to apologize. So let's go. I'm sorry. The first word is I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry is one of the easiest apologies. I'm sorry is short. You can use it in many different situations. You can use it at work. You can use it at home. You can use it with your friends. If you make a mistake, anytime you make a mistake, you can say, I'm sorry. It's the easiest way to communicate your apology. In a sentence, I forgot to send the file. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. The next word or the next phrase is sorry about that. We use sorry about that for a specific mistake. I make a mistake. I want to apologize for that mistake. I can say, sorry about that thing, that specific thing I did, my mistake. I want to say, I'm sorry about that. So, for example, if I step on my friend's foot, sorry about that. If I forget to feed my cat, sorry about that. If I don't take out my trash, I could say to my roommate, sorry about that. In a different sentence, sorry about that mistake. I'll fix it right away. I'm sorry to hear. The next expression is I'm sorry to hear blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry to hear is important in this sentence, to hear, because in this expression, you did not make a mistake. There's no mistake on your part. There's no problem there. But you heard bad news from someone. You heard, for example, someone's family member died, or they lost their job, or there's some kind of bad news you heard about. In that case, you can say, I'm sorry to hear about, or I'm sorry to hear that, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry to hear you lost your job. I'm sorry to hear your mother died. I'm sorry to hear you forgot your lunch today. I don't know. If you hear any bad news, you can use this expression, which communicates that you did not make a mistake, but you feel bad for the other person. This is a nice one to do that. So in a sentence, I'm sorry to hear you're not feeling well. I apologize. Next word is, or next phrase is a very simple phrase. I apologize. I apologize. I apologize and I'm sorry are very similar, but I apologize sounds more formal than I'm sorry. I apologize is good at work or at a formal situation, or if you need to talk to customers, or you need to talk to, I don't know, anytime you need to be more serious, you should use I apologize. That's when it's a good idea to use this. So let's see, you make a mistake at work, I apologize. Or if you make a mistake with your schedule, oh, I apologize for the mistake. You can use I apologize for blah, 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 like something specific that you feel bad about, something specific you would like to apologize for. Like, I apologize for the bad food, or I apologize for my mother's behavior. Sorry, Mom. In a different sentence, I apologize for the error. I'm terribly sorry about. The next expression is I'm terribly sorry about. I'm terribly sorry about blah, blah, blah. So you hear terribly in this sentence. I'm terribly sorry. So terribly is like I'm very sorry about blah, blah, blah. But terribly sorry sounds more formal. You can say I'm very sorry about, but If you say, I'm terribly sorry, it sounds more formal again. So this is maybe for a more serious mistake. I'm terribly sorry about the mistake. I'm terribly sorry you lost all that money in a bad business deal I advised you on. I'm terribly sorry about tracking mud into your house on my dirty shoes. Or I'm terribly sorry that I lost your dog. Or I'm terribly sorry that I can't teach each of you individually, but thank you for your messages. In a different sentence, I'm terribly sorry about the delay. Oops. The next expression is oops. Oops, O-O-P-S. It's kind of a cute word. Like, oops is kind of cute. Like, children will use oops, but adults can also use oops. Oops is for very small mistakes, very small, not serious mistakes. So like, for example, if I drop something and it doesn't break, or if I make a small mistake that doesn't cause any problems, or maybe I forget some small detail, oops is used for very small mistakes. Like, I forgot to buy eggs at the supermarket. Oops. Or I didn't email the latest schedule to my coworker, but it's not urgent. I could say, oops, I forgot. So small mistakes we use oops for. In a sentence, I deleted the wrong file. Oops. Deepest apologies for. And the next one is deepest apologies for blah, blah, blah. Deepest apologies for is like a very serious, very, very serious situation. So deepest apologies for would be for a very, very serious problem in a business situation. So like deepest apologies for our misunderstanding, or deepest apologies for the delay with your order, deepest apologies for the mistake, something like that in a client-customer relationship, or something serious and in a very kind of formal, a more formal relationship with somebody. We would use deepest apologies for something. So in a sentence, deepest apologies for the oversight. My condolences. The next word is my condolences. My condolences is a special kind of apology. We use my condolences usually when someone, a family member, friend, or maybe close coworker, I don't know, someone has died, someone has passed away. We say my condolences in those cases. You can use my condolences in other situations if someone has lost something, like a pet maybe, but it's usually just used for if people pass away or if people die. So in a sentence, you could say, my condolences. I'm sure your mother was a great person. I'm sorry for your loss. So the next word is, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for your loss is used typically when people die, when people pass away. I'm sorry for your loss. Your loss here means the loss of this person in your life. So it's used, when people die, maybe when pets die, but it's, I would not use it for when pets die, only when people die, someone who is close to you, someone who is close to the listener. I'm sorry for your loss, like my condolences. These can both be used, actually, when someone passes away. I'm sorry for your loss is sort of a set phrase. My condolences is also a set phrase. In my mind, my condolences could be used in more situations, though. Yes, we can use both of them when someone dies, when someone passes away. But in my mind, you can say my condolences for another serious problem. Like if someone loses a job, or maybe, gets a divorce, for example, or some other serious issue happens in their lives, you could say my condolences for something serious. However, we can't say I'm sorry for your loss in any other situation. We only use I'm sorry for your loss in situations where death has occurred. My condolences can be used for death, but generally we can use it in some other situations as well. So in a sentence, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sure your uncle was a great guy. Apologies. Next is apologies. Apologies. We use the plural form apologies here. So meaning my apologies, or in other words, my sorry feelings. So apologies is a very short, very quick way to say I'm sorry for something. You can use this in emails. Actually, I use this in emails. So I make a mistake, or last week I made a mistake with my schedule, or I was a little bit delayed returning a file to someone. I said apologies. It was a small problem. So I used the expression apologies to express my sorry feelings. In a sentence, I got my schedule mixed up. Apologies. Okay, so that's the end. Those are 10 ways to apologize in English. I hope those are useful for you. If you want to give them a try, or if you have any questions, please leave us a comment below. Also, if you liked this video, please make sure to give us a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Also, check us out at EnglishClass101.com for more good stuff. Thanks very much for watching this episode of Top Words, and we'll see you again soon. Bye! Hi everybody, welcome back to Top Words. My name is Alicia, and today we're going to talk about 10 words for fighting. So let's go. Attack. First word is attack. Attack, the verb attack. So attack means, for example, punch someone, kick someone, to show aggression towards someone, to be aggressive with your body or with your words. So we can say to attack someone verbally, verbally meaning with your words, or attack someone physically, physically meaning with your body or with an object. I don't know who I'm going to attack with a phone, but physically or verbally attack someone. One point about this word, however, some of my students say attack, like for example, she attacked to him. After the verb attack, there is no preposition, like attack to is incorrect. Please follow attack with the object of the attack. So for example, he attacked me. I attacked him. The green team attacked the red team. I attacked my refrigerator. What? I don't know. But anytime you show aggression or someone shows aggression to another thing, what is with my hair? My hair is attacking me right now. Seriously, it's like it won't leave me alone. We use attack actually in this very casual way sometimes to show, like to give the nuance that another object is kind of being too aggressive for us. So if, for example, an object falls from like your closet or something falls onto you, you can tell your friends a story that sounds a little funny, like, something attacked me in my closet, or like my coat attacked me, or the door attacked me when I tried to open it. So it sounds like there was too much aggression. It sounds like you were the victim of something. We can use attack in this way to kind of create a little bit of humor, or to make storytelling a little more interesting. But please remember, no preposition after attack. We can, however, use attacked by, but that's when we use the passive voice. So like, I was attacked by a duck. Whatever. In the passive voice, when we use the passive voice, he was attacked by something. In that case, we should follow attacked with the preposition by. However, in an active voice sentence, I attacked you, please use no preposition. So, in one more example sentence, my neighbor was attacked by a dog. War. Next word is war. War. So we use war usually for arguments or disagreements, usually physical disagreements. The people actually fight, physically fight, and verbally too. We use war for two countries usually, so like the US and Japan, or Germany and Britain, or Russia and Canada. Like, that did not happen, but just for example. So two or more countries who are fighting, and there may be soldiers and physical fighting and policy debates and so on, that is called war. War. We can also use war as a verb too, to war with someone. So like the US warred with Japan, for example. So to war, and we have to be at war. We can use both of these expressions to talk about fighting between two countries, two or more countries. So in a sentence, those countries have been at war for a long time. fight. The next one is the word fight, the simple word fight. So as I mentioned, we can use fight for a verbal, with your words, a verbal argument, or we can use it for a physical argument with your body or with an object. So fight is usually used for physical, like a fist fight or kicking, punching, that sort of thing. We typically use a fight. We use fight in cases where like two people are both involved. Two people are both participating. We use attack in situations where maybe one person is being aggressive and the other person is trying to like protect themselves. A fight is where both people, or a group of people maybe, are all participating in aggressive behavior, a fight. The same applies to verbal situations. So, for example, when couples fight, usually, though not in all cases, unfortunately, usually it's a verbal fight. So we could say, we had a fight. If a member of a couple says we had a fight, it usually means a verbal fight. Unfortunately, physical fights do happen among people, but we can use the verb fight for both of these situations. So let's see. I got in a fight with my mom yesterday. That's not true. I fought, past tense, I fought my coworker for the promotion. So in that case, it means it's like challenging something or trying to challenge yourself or racing someone. So we can use fight in this way too. In one more sentence, don't fight with your brother. Quarrel. The next word is quarrel. Quarrel. This is a great pronunciation point. Quarrel. Quarrel. Work on that. That Q-U sound. Quarrel. Quarrel. Nice pronunciation point. Anyway, the word quarrel is a more formal word which means fight. And quarrel usually refers to a verbal argument. So like couples have a couple's quarrel, or I quarreled with my neighbor, or I quarreled with my boss over a raise. It sounds a little bit formal, and generally this word is not used so much in speech because honestly, it's quite difficult to say, even for me to say. It's like quarrel, quarrel. It just sounds weird. And honestly, fight is easier to say, and fight is more commonly used in everyday speech. Of course, quarrel is not incorrect, so you can use it, and it's great for pronunciation points. But this usually refers to a verbal argument. In a sentence, the people who live upstairs had a quarrel last night. Argue. So the next word is argue. The noun form is argument. To have an argument or to argue with someone. So argument is more than one person having an aggressive discussion. To argue with someone is usually, it has sort of a negative nuance about it. Like, I argued with my neighbors about the noise, or I argued with my client about the project, or I argued with my boyfriend or girlfriend about our relationship. I argued with my dog? No, that doesn't make sense. So we can't use argue with a dog because the dog does not argue. We need another participant. So there must be at least two people involved to have an argument. It's a two-way sort of thing. One more example. I hate arguing. Punch. The next verb is punch. Punch. So I started this video with a punch. Punch is an attack that you do with your hand, your arm, your fist. Usually it's this sort of motion, or maybe it's this sort of motion. Any motion that you make with your upper body like this, so to punch. Like, I'm going to punch a wall because I'm super angry, or the drunk person at the bar punched another customer, oh my gosh, or don't punch your brother, or he punched me in the face. I don't even know. These are very silly example sentences, but I hope nobody's getting punched. I hope nobody's doing any punching. But in one more example sentence, that guy punched me in the face. Kick. The next verb is kick. Kick. So if punch is with your arms and your hands, kick is an attack showing aggression with your legs, with your feet. I'm not going to demonstrate because this is a program that's shot from the waist up. So a kick is with your legs. So we use kick when playing soccer and other sports and stuff, but for attacks as well, we use kick. And again, similar to attack, you should always follow punch and kick with the object of the action. So who is being punched? Who is being kicked? Like, that guy kicked me, or my dog kicked me, or the horse kicked me, or I kicked my brother, or my mom kicked a bucket in the garden. So always follow these verbs with the object, the object that is receiving the action. Okay, and one more sentence. My sister kicked me. Destroy. Destroy, destroy. So destroy is used usually for like a large scale, for large scale damage. So to destroy something means to 100% like kill or finish or remove something. So to destroy a city is like everything is a mess. It's just, you can't use it anymore. We can use destroy, of course, for like war or maybe for like a house, like the tornado destroyed my house. Or I don't know, I destroyed my cake when I dropped it, for example. But we can also use destroy for like mental situations, like, oh, that test was so difficult, it destroyed me. So in that case, it was really difficult for me mentally. We can use destroy for physical destruction, physical problems that we can no longer use something, but we can also use it for mental situations like, this is so stressful, it's destroying me mentally, for example. Okay, in a sentence, they want to destroy our city. Battle. The next word is battle. Battle. Battle is used more often to refer to fights and wars throughout history. We don't use battle so much in everyday conversation these days, but if you play video games, you might see battle in video games a lot. Like to start a battle, to end a battle, to have a battle. It has sort of like a renaissance or like a 1600s, 1700s feel to it of like, you know, knights and kings and queens and horses and people running out to fight. That's sort of the image it conjures, but the image it conjures means that's sort of what we can imagine in our minds. But battle is typically used for talking about specific fights in wars. So like the Battle of 1812, is that a thing? I don't know. Oh gosh, my history. Oh, someone's gonna yell at me. Sorry in advance for my bad history. But so like a specific battle name, like the Battle of blah, blah, blah. You might see that in history textbooks. That means a specific fight in a specific location at a specific time. But yeah, we can use battle for like to talk about a specific fight at a specific time. It's not used that much these days, usually for historical purposes. Okay, in a sentence, there have been many epic battles in history. Squabble. The next word is squabble. Squabble is another fun word. Squabble also has that qu sound like quarrel, but squabble is easier to say. Squabble means a small fight. It's a very small fight, a small argument about a small problem. So it's usually like homework or housework or forgetting a small detail, something like that. So you squabble about blah, blah, blah. So like we squabbled about chores, we squabbled about homework, we squabbled about our electricity bill. Something small, hopefully, is when we use squabble. Again, this is not such a common word. You can use it if you like, but I would say in most cases we just use fight or argue instead. In a sentence, we squabbled about house cleaning responsibilities. Okay, so that's the end. Those are 10 words for fighting. So those are a few ways that you can talk about attacks or arguments or quarrels, squabbles, war, and so on. So I hope they're useful for you. If you have any questions or comments or just want to try to make an example sentence, please let us know in the comments. If you liked this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel also if you haven't already. Also, check us out at EnglishClass101.com for more good stuff. Thanks very much for watching this episode of Top Words, and we'll see you again soon. Bye! This is an argument in my language. I don't even know. I'll do it here. Pow! That is amazing content right there. And when you kick... I don't know why. This is like a Batman comic. I'm assigning pow. I'm assigning sound effects to my own stupid... Okay, anyway, surely you understand now what a kick is. A kick. everybody, welcome back to Top Words. My name is Alicia, and today we're going to talk about 10 ocean-related words. So, let's go. Ocean, sea. The first word is ocean or sea. Ocean and sea mean the same thing, that big blue water out there. The big blue water that covers most of planet Earth. We use ocean and sea. Both are fine to use. I personally prefer ocean. I'm going to the ocean, or I like to swim in the ocean. You can use sea as well. Do you like the sea? I love the sea. I go swimming in the sea every summer. So, sea and ocean are used in the same way. You can choose which you prefer. However, if you want to be very specific, sea should be used for very, very large, landlocked, or mostly landlocked, meaning inside land, salt water, bodies of salt water. So like the Caspian Sea, I think, or like the Adriatic Sea. These are mostly surrounded by land. Oceans, however, are not surrounded by land. In general, we use them fairly interchangeably, but if you want to be specific, there is a difference between ocean and sea. Ocean is not surrounded by land. Sea is mostly surrounded by land, but they are both salt water. Interesting. In another sentence, I love looking at the ocean. Beach. The next word is beach, beach. So, beach is the area near the ocean. So, where you live, it may be rocky, it may be sandy, there might be forests, I don't know. But the beach is the area where the land meets the ocean. We call that the beach. Usually, however, there is an image of sand or maybe like rocks perhaps, but there's usually kind of a sandy area near the beach where the water meets the land. We refer to that as the beach, the beach. So, in some sentences, I love going to the beach in the summer, or the beach in my hometown is really nice, or some beaches are really dirty, or do you want to go to the beach with me next weekend? So we usually use it as like the beach. We usually say the beach. And when we say the beach, it means a beach area near where you live. So try to use the beach. Do you want to go to the beach this weekend? In another sentence, want to go to the beach? Undersea. The next word is undersea. Undersea means under the ocean, under the sea. It's an adjective. So we could say, for example, many plants live undersea. There are lots of plants that live undersea. We can use the word undersea maybe to talk about things that we can find under the ocean, undersea. So, for example, many plants live undersea, or maybe there are many undersea plants. Or you can find a lot of undersea rocks in this area. Or maybe there are some undersea creatures in this part of the ocean. So undersea refers to something that happens under the ocean. In another example sentence, I heard there's an undersea hotel. Submerge. The next word is submerge, submerge. There's a B sound and an M sound, submerge, but they kind of blend together, submerge. To submerge something means to fill or to overfill with water. So there's so much water, or there's so much liquid that an object is completely covered in water. So to submerge something in water is to completely cover it, or to completely fill something with water and cause it to sink. So for example, a boat can submerge in the ocean, or maybe I submerged my body in water. Like, these are ways, so anytime you want to put an object or cause an object to go below the level of the surface level of a liquid, we can use submerge, submerge. Submerge, you can see there's that sub meaning under, yeah? So we see the same thing in words like submarine, yeah? So submarine, marine refers to like ocean, water, yeah? So sub meaning under, marine. So one more example sentence. The boat took on a lot of water and eventually became submerged. Ta-da! Dive. The next word is dive, dive. So to dive into something is to intentionally, there's purpose here, it's not an accident, to intentionally usually jump from a non-liquid place, non-ocean, non-sea, non-pool, from a land position to a a water or another liquid. Maybe you dive into something else. I don't know. But for example, the ocean. So to dive into the ocean. We use the verb dive to talk about this motion, and we use the preposition into to dive into the ocean, to dive into the water. So the past tense of this, I've heard too, actually. You can use dove. He dove into the water. I've also heard people, particularly who use the Harvard dictionary, if you're interested, say dived is correct. So dove and dived. I have heard both. I personally use dove in most cases, but you may also encounter dived too. So in some sentences, he dived into the pool, or I dove into the ocean, or where should we go diving? Or, let's see, in this sentence, we dove down to look at coral reefs. Salt water. The next word is a noun. The next word is salt water. Salt water you can find in oceans and seas. Salt water is water with salt inside it. So that's pretty much it. I don't know what else to say. Salt water, you should probably not drink salt water. Don't drink salt water. It might taste bad. So salt water is what's the ocean and the sea. That's what they're made of. In a sentence, salt water might sting your eyes. Sea level. The next word is sea level. Sea level is also a noun. Sea level means the level of water in the sea. So sea levels can change. Sea levels do change throughout the day and have changed throughout the course of history as the earth and the environment have evolved. So we could say sea levels are high, or sea levels are low, or maybe sea levels are gradually decreasing, maybe. But sea level refers to the level of water, how much water there is in the sea. Sea level. In a sentence, sea levels have changed over time. Wave. The next word is wave, wave. So a wave is this motion. So when you go to the ocean, when you go, when you visit the beach, you'll see waves. They are the ups and downs in the water. So they can be very small or very big, but usually they form this sort of motion, a wave. Yeah, they vary in size, but generally you should be careful of them. But those dips in the ocean, these shapes in the water, that's a wave, a wave. In a sentence, never turn your back to waves. Surf. The next word is surf, surf. So maybe you are familiar with the verb to surf, the sport, like riding on the ocean water on a board. But actually surf is also a noun. So the surf. Surf actually means the point where the water, so we just talked about the word wave, and the water, the point where the water comes up and kind of crashes against rocks or crashes against the land, that part is called the surf. That is the surf on a beach. So yes, there is a sport called surfing, and we can surf as a verb, but there's also a point in like the land or a point on the beach called the surf. That's the surf. That spot where the water is crashing against the waves and the rocks. That's the surf. In a sentence, be careful. The surf can be dangerous. High and low tide. The next words are high tide and low tide. So I talked about sea level a little bit ago. High tide and low tide are the points in time in a day where the sea level is high or where the sea level is low. So low tide means there's a low level of water there. High tide means the water is high there. So depending on where you are in the world, depending on the time of day, high tide and low tide occur at different times. So, in a sentence, what time is high tide? So, that's the end. Those are 10 ocean-related words. I hope that those are helpful for you in talking about your plans. If you have any questions, please be sure to let us know in a comment below, or if you just want to try an example sentence, please feel free. If you liked this video, please make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already done so. Check us out at EnglishClass101.com for more good stuff as well. Thanks very much for watching this episode of Top Words, and we'll see you again soon. Bye! So wave is, yes, exactly. You're like seeing this in the corner. That was so funny. This is also a very popular dance move. everybody, welcome back to Top Words. My name is Alicia, and today we're going to talk about 10 flower-related words. I hope you've been studying your science recently. Let's go! Stalk, stem. The first word is stalk or stem. The stalk or stem is the long piece of a flower, the long part that's in the middle that we can hold, for example, with roses. It's usually long and a bit thicker than the other parts of the flower, easy to hold on to. That part is the stalk or the stem of the flower. So, for example, when you buy a present, you can buy long-stemmed roses, a very long stem. Or you should grab a flower by the stem. Or how big is the stalk of this flower, for example. In another example sentence, cut the ends of the flower stalks. Flower. The next word is flower, flower. So we can use flower to mean every part, the whole flower. So the pretty colored part at the top and the long stem. But actually the flower refers to just the part at the top of the plant, not the whole thing. But a flower can mean just this part at the top. So like a rose could be red or pink or white, for example. So this part, the top with the petals and colors, is the flower. In a sentence, flowers are so pretty. Bud. The next word is bud, bud. So bud is it sort of looks like this. Well, not really. It's like a flower before it becomes a flower. So these are usually very small, and a bud opens to become a flower. So I'm not doing a very good job with my hands here, but a bud usually looks like this, and then gradually over time it opens to become a flower. This. So buds, maybe a flower has many different buds on it. Or you could say like, oh, I'm excited to watch the buds on the flower open. Or in this sentence, it's fun to watch buds slowly blossom. So blossom means become a flower or become mature. Petal. The next word is petal, petal. So a petal is the part of a flower. So flowers, the colorful parts usually, are made of many different petals. There are petals that are maybe layered like this around a flower. But there are a lot of petals, a lot of small, thin layers which make up a flower. So these are very delicate usually. But this part of the flower is called the petal. So people like to pick petals off of flowers sometimes, or say rhymes maybe as they do it, especially in childhood. In another sentence, be gentle with petals or they'll fall off. Pollen. All right, the next word, maybe the most important word on this list today, is pollen. Pollen is the substance that's in flowers that is used, the flowers use pollen. It's like, it's the material to make new flowers, to fertilize new flowers. So, but pollen is something that humans are allergic to. Pollen may cause us to sneeze, have itchy eyes, a runny nose, uncomfortable feelings, maybe itchy skin. So pollen is sometimes it's that yellow or maybe white substance in flowers. Flowers use it to reproduce, to make more flowers, but many humans are allergic to pollen. So you can say, I'm allergic to cedar pollen, or I'm allergic to all pollen, I don't know. Or what kind of pollen are you allergic to? Do you know? Or there's so much pollen on my shirt, for example. In this sentence, I'm allergic to lots of different kinds of pollen. Pistil. The next expression is pistil. So pistil is a part of a flower, the inside part of a flower, part of the reproductive system, the part used to make more flowers. So pistils we can think of as like the feminine parts of flowers. So pistils produce flower seeds. They are the parts that make the seeds in flowers, a pistil. So yeah, in a sentence, pistils produce seeds. Stamen. The key part of a flower for flower reproduction is called the stamen. So if the pistil is like the female parts, the feminine parts of the flower, the stamen is the like the male parts or the masculine parts of the flower. So the stamen makes pollen. The stamen is responsible for making pollen. In a sentence, stamens make pollen. Photosynthesis. The next word is a very interesting word, especially if you are studying science, maybe in junior high school. This word is photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a very important process Photosynthesis is the process of changing carbon dioxide, CO2, to oxygen, O2. So making air, essentially, air that humans can breathe, from CO2, carbon dioxide, to oxygen, O2. So photosynthesis is the process of this conversion, of this change. So plants can do photosynthesis. Pretty cool. So in a sentence, the process of photosynthesis makes oxygen from carbon dioxide. Chlorophyll. The next word is chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is another good word if you are maybe studying plants or if you are studying science. Chlorophyll is the substance, the inside plants that makes them green. This is the substance that causes plants to have a green color. Chlorophyll is the reason for this. So in a sentence, chlorophyll makes plants green. Bouquet. The next word is bouquet, bouquet. So this has a very interesting spelling. It's B-O-U-Q-U-E-T, but in English we say bouquet, bouquet. A bouquet is a bunch of flowers. So usually these are very, very pretty. You can use them as gifts, give them to people, or just decorate your house with them. A bouquet of flowers is a bunch of flowers. So let's see. You should give your mother a bouquet for her birthday. Or I bought a bouquet for my apartment last week. Or why don't we make a bouquet together? In this sentence, I got a beautiful bouquet of flowers yesterday. So those are 10 flower-related words. I hope those are helpful for you in describing flowers and maybe in picking out gifts. So if you have any questions or if you have any comments, please let us know in the comment section below this video. If you liked this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel too. Also, check us out at EnglishClass101.com for more stuff like this. Thanks very much for watching this episode of Top Words, and we will see you again soon. Bye! Hi everybody, welcome back to Know Your Verbs. My name is Alicia, and in this episode, we're going to talk about the verb stress. Let's get started. Let's start with the basic definition of the verb stress. To stress means to worry about something. Some examples. I'm stressing about my job. Don't stress so much. Okay, now let's look at the conjugations for this verb. Present. Stress, stresses. Past, stressed. Past participle, stressed. Progressive, stressing. Now let's talk about some additional meanings for this verb. The first additional meaning for stress is to emphasize something. Some examples. I want to stress how important this is. He stressed the seriousness of the situation. So in both of these example sentences, we can replace the verb stress with the word emphasize. In the first example sentence, I want to stress how important this is, we can replace the verb stress with emphasize, and the meaning stays the same. So we use stress just as a personal choice. I want to stress how important this is. It's a quicker way than saying emphasize. So we can choose which word we prefer between these two. In the second example sentence, he stressed the seriousness of the situation. It's like saying emphasize. Again, we can replace stressed with the word emphasized in the past tense here. He emphasized the seriousness of the situation. So in this case, emphasize and stress are interchangeable. The second additional meaning is to pronounce with more force than other syllables. Some examples. Stress the first syllable in the word beautiful. You're stressing the wrong syllable. So this use of stress means emphasize, yes, but we use this when we're talking about speech. So there are different parts of words that we stress or that we emphasize when we're speaking. In particular, in English, it can be very important to stress or to emphasize the correct syllable in a word to make yourself understood. Remember, a syllable is like the beats in a word. In the first example sentence, I said, stress the first syllable of the word beautiful. That means the first beat of the word beautiful, which has 3 syllables, 3 beats, should be emphasized. It should be stressed. Beautiful. So to stress something means to say something with more force. In this case, beau gets more stress or more force used as a noun than t or full. Beautiful. If you say beautiful, it sounds strange, or beautiful, it sounds strange. So to pronounce the word naturally, we need to use stress as a noun in the proper way. We can describe this by saying stress the first syllable or stress the second syllable. The second example sentence introduces a common problem. You're stressing the wrong syllable. A great example of how this can cause confusion is the sentence, "You've put the emphasis on the wrong syllable." Sometimes people make a joke out of this expression and say, "You put the emphasis on the wrong syllable." It's like you're changing the emphasis of the expression. Emphasis, I've changed to emphasis, and syllable, I changed to syllable. So those 2 words, by changing the emphasis, by changing the stress on those 2 words, it makes it more difficult to understand what I actually want to say. So make sure you stress the correct syllable in your speech. So we use stress as a very important word in language learning. We use it as a noun and as a verb, as we see in this meeting. The third additional meaning is to cause physical stress, like through weight or tension. Some examples. The roof is stressed beyond safe limits. The heat is stressing our computers. So this use of stress refers to some kind of weight or some kind of tension, some kind of pressure being put on an object that maybe makes it difficult to perform correctly. It maybe makes it dangerous. In the first example, it's a building. The roof is stressed. So that means maybe there's a lot of weight on the roof or a lot of tension on the roof. Tension refers to, for example, when you have a rope and you pull the rope very, very tightly, it's not necessarily stable. Maybe it becomes weak, or it's just not supposed to have so much stretch applied to it. So the roof is under stress refers to too much physical force on the roof. So in the second example sentence, the heat is stressing our computers. It means the heat is you can imagine putting pressure onto our computers or it's making our computers hard to use, or the computers are working really, really hard. So you can imagine when a person feels stress, it's difficult for them to work. Maybe it's hard for them to work quickly or efficiently. In this example sentence, we can think of computers the same way because of some outside force, in this case, heat. Let's move along now to some variations in the verb stress. The first variation is to stress out. To stress out means to feel worry or to feel nervousness. Some examples. My neighbor is really stressing me out. Try not to stress out about small things. So to stress out means to feel stressed and just to kind of have that feeling. I'm stressing out about something, or my neighbor is stressing me out. That means my neighbor is causing me to worry. My neighbor is causing me to feel nervous. So it refers to that kind of state. I'm in a condition. I'm in a situation of feeling worried, of feeling nervous. So in this case, my neighbor, the cause, is stressing me out. We use it in the progressive form a lot. Something is stressing me out. In the second example sentence, it's a piece of advice. Try not to stress out about small things. It means try not to worry so much, or try not to allow or let small things in your life cause you to be nervous or cause you to worry. Try not to stress out about small things. Great, so those are a few hopefully new ways that you can use the verb stress. I hope that you found something you can use. Of course, if you know a different way to use the verb stress, not just the noun, please feel free to let us know in the comments. If you have questions or other comments, or if you'd like to practice making an example sentence with this verb, please feel free to do so in the comment section of this video. Also, if you like the video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to this channel if you have not already, and come check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other good resources for your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this episode of Know Your Verbs, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, welcome back to Know Your Verbs. My name is Alicia, and in this lesson, we're going to talk about the verb reach. Let's get started. Let's start with the basic definition of this verb. The basic definition of reach is to arrive somewhere, especially after using a lot of effort. Some examples. We reached the top of the mountain at sunset. The package didn't reach him in time. Now let's look at the conjugations for this verb. Present, reach, reaches. Past, reached. Past participle, reached. Progressive, reaching. Now let's talk about some additional meanings for this verb. The first additional meaning is to get to a certain level. Some examples. She wants to reach the highest level of language proficiency. Croatia reached the final round in the World Cup. So this use of reach is used to show that a certain level of achievement happens. In the first example sentence, it's about a skill or an ability. She wants to reach the highest level of language proficiency. Means she wants to work at something to achieve a specific rank or a specific level in something. So we typically use reach for like high levels of something. We don't use reach for low levels or intermediate levels so much. We tend to use it a lot for things that take time and effort to achieve. So in this case, a high level of language proficiency fits the use of reach. In the second example, it's a sports example. So it's about a team reaching the final round of the World Cup. So reaching the final round, again, shows a high level of skill or a high level of proficiency in something, in this case, a sport. So reaching something shows a high level of ability or like a lot of effort. We can use reach to talk about that. The next additional meaning is to extend an arm to try to obtain something. Some examples. I can't reach the glass on the top shelf. He reached across the table and grabbed the menu. So this use of reach is specifically about the body, about using the body, like the arm and the hand or hands, to try to reach something or to try to touch something. So we can use it in combination with other verbs. For example, the second sentence here is talking about reaching across a table, so extending an arm across a table, and grabbing. So grab means like taking something, but quickly, or like in this kind of quick motion. So to reach and do something, like to reach up and take something, for example, or to reach across and grab something, we commonly combine this use of reach with another verb. In the first example, though, it's about not being able to reach something. Like I can't reach the glass on the top shelf means like I'm too short. I can't extend my arm and touch, or I can't extend my arm and take the glass on the top shelf. Like it's too tall. I'm not tall enough, in other words. So you can see reach kind of combined with other verbs in this way. But it typically refers to using your physical body parts to try to get something or to try to touch something. The next additional meaning is to communicate with someone. Some examples. I'll try to reach you later. She hasn't been able to reach him all day. This use of reach means communicate, yes, but specifically we use it for emails and phone calls. We don't typically use it for face-to-face communication. We use reach kind of in the same way as we talked about with the second additional meaning, like you're reaching out to try to find something or to touch something or to communicate with someone. In this case, however, you're reaching out with your communication devices. So that means your phone or your computer. I'll talk about reach out a little bit later. So when we reach someone, it means we can communicate. We are able to communicate with them. In the second example sentence, however, we see a negative use of this. I haven't been able to reach him all day, which means I have not been able to communicate with this person all day. So by phone or by email, like no messages have been returned, for example. So using reach for communication is something that we do with like business clients, with colleagues, with coworkers, with the people in our office. We maybe use it from time to time with family members, though it can sound a little bit polite. Like I might not say, I'm trying to reach my mother, unless I'm speaking to like, I don't know, an authority figure. If it's a conversation with friends or with family, I would say, I want to call my mom, or I want to talk to my mom. I wouldn't say, I want to reach my mom. It sounds a little bit more formal. So you can use this at work, actually. It's quite common at work, in emails, and in phone calls. Let's move along to a variation with this verb. This variation is to reach out to somebody. This means to try to communicate with someone, often to try to support that person. Let's look at some examples. I'm writing to reach out for help regarding an upcoming project. Have you tried reaching out to the people in your network? So this use of reach out can be used to request support and can be used to offer support. In the second example sentence here, we see a question. Have you tried reaching out to the people in your network? This use of reach out shows like you want to communicate and get support. So reach out shows those two things happening at the same time. The first example sentence is actually a statement. I'm writing to reach out for help regarding an upcoming project. That's also a request. That's like an introduction to help. You can talk about how you offered your support or you would like to offer your support for something by saying like, I'm reaching out to see if I can support you with this project, for example. So you can request and offer support using reach out. Just keep in mind that reach out does sound like there's some help and communication involved. But it's a very nice and very positive word, actually, for helping others and communicating with people. So I hope that you found a new way of using the verb reach. If you have any questions or comments, or if you know a different way of using the verb reach, or if you want to practice making some example sentences, please feel free to do so in the comment section of this video. Of course, if you like the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you have not already, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this episode of Know Your Verbs, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye. Reach for the sky. What other famous things are there for reach? I don't know. Mom, help me.
Reach for the sky is the big one.
Yeah, I think reach for the sky is a big one. Toy Story. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Know Your Verbs. My name is Alicia, and in this lesson, we're going to talk about the verb bring. Let's get started. Let's start with the basic definition of the verb bring. The basic definition of bring is to carry or lead someone or something somewhere. Examples. You should bring a friend to the beach this weekend. He brought us a nice bottle of wine. Now let's take a look at the conjugations for this verb. Present, bring, brings. Past, brought. Past participle, brought. Progressive, bringing. Now let's talk about some additional meanings for this verb. The first additional meaning is to cause something to be in a state. Let's look at some examples. Let's bring the meeting to an end. He's brought us nothing but trouble. So this meaning, this additional meaning, might be kind of hard to understand because it's very open. But here we can kind of think of it as like a concept, or there's some condition that's happening as a result of one person's behavior. And so we use bring to talk about that. So something that caused some situation or caused some condition or status to happen. The first example sentence is, let's bring the meeting to an end. We could understand that as meaning, let's end the meeting, or let's cause the meeting to end. Here, though, we're using end as a noun. Let's bring the meeting to an end. So we use bring and end together, like we're causing an end to happen is kind of the idea here. So this is a simple example of like how to close a meeting, how to finish a meeting. Let's bring something to an end. This is a common expression. The second example sentence, he's brought us nothing but trouble, shows that he, in this situation, has caused a condition of trouble. In this case, nothing but trouble means the only thing this person has caused is trouble. So this is a very negative expression, and we see past tense bring here. He's brought us nothing but trouble. He's caused us to be in a situation of trouble. That's the only thing he has done for us. So we can use bring to talk about this kind of causing of some situation or some state. So keep an eye out for this when you're reading. You'll notice that there are some common words like trouble or bring something to an end, bring something to a close. You'll see those sorts of things when you're reading. Those actually mean cause, not physically carry something. So keep an eye out for this when you're reading and listening. Let's move along to the next additional meaning. The next additional meaning is to have characteristics. This is quite open sounding, so let's take a look at some examples. She brought a refreshing, positive attitude to the team. He doesn't bring much to the table. The additional meaning here is to have characteristics, and the idea with this is that you have those characteristics as like a person, for example, and you can take those characteristics with you. So it's like those characteristics are a part of your personality, and therefore you can take them places, move them around, and do things. So it's more like we're carrying a concept somewhere. So the original definition that we talked about at the beginning of this lesson was to take or carry something with you to another place. In this case, think of it as carrying a characteristic or a personality trait somewhere, like you're carrying a concept. In the first example sentence, it's a positive, refreshing attitude. So that's not an actual object, but it is a characteristic a person can use, like in work or in life. In the second example sentence, though, he doesn't bring much to the table. This is a very common expression. It's a negative expression. He doesn't bring much to the table means he doesn't have many positive characteristics. So to bring much to the table, we can imagine a table as being a place where people eat or people share things together, be it work or social events. When we say he doesn't bring much to the table, it's like he's not sharing much or he's not able to offer much in this social setting or in this group setting. So we can use bring in this way to talk about kind of conceptual things like personality-related things. So characteristics. So let's move along to some variations with the verb bring. The first variation is to bring something back. This actually has a few different meanings. This verb can mean to return something, like to a retail store. It can mean to recall, to cause to recall something. And it can also mean to do something that used to be done commonly in the past. Let's look at some examples. Seeing this old toy brings back so many memories. Management wants to bring back some of our policies. So the first example sentence is about recalling something, about remembering something. So seeing this toy, seeing this old toy brings back so many memories. So to bring back in this case means causes to remember. So the act of looking at a toy causes the speaker to remember something. It causes the speaker to think about old memories. So it brings back those things from the past. So a recollection. The second example sentence is about doing something that was done in the past, but maybe stopped for a period of time. The sentence was, management wants us to bring back some of our old policies. So that sounds like, because we're using bring back there, it sounds like the policies stopped at one point, and now management wants to start those again, or wants to bring them back. So the idea with this use of bring back is that something was popular or common for a time period, maybe like 10 years ago or a few months ago, and then it stopped or was not popular for a time period. But now there's some surge, some rise in popularity or in interest in that thing again. we can use bring back to talk about this. There's a very famous Justin Timberlake song that begins with the expression, I'm bringing sexy back, for example. So he's suggesting that he himself is the person who is like bringing this idea of like sexiness and attractiveness back. Like it hasn't been around for a long time, but I'm going to be the person that does this again. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to make sexy cool again. Let's move along now to the next variation. The next variation is to bring somebody down. This means to cause someone to lose confidence. Let's look at some examples. Losing the game really brought me down. Don't bring your classmates down. So to bring someone down means to cause their confidence to fall or to cause someone to feel badly about himself or herself. In the first example situation, we see losing the game really brought me down. So in other words, losing the game caused me to feel badly about myself, or I lost confidence because I lost the game. So in this case, losing the game brought me down. But we see in the second example sentence, though, we can talk about other people in this situation with this word. So don't bring your classmates down means don't cause your classmates to lose confidence. So this is a way of saying, for example, don't bully your classmates or don't tease your classmates. Don't be unkind to your classmates. Don't bring your classmates down. So any kind of behavior or any kind of situation that causes someone to lose confidence or to feel badly about themselves, we can use bring that person down to describe it. The next variation is to bring somebody on. To bring somebody on means to appoint someone to a position. This is especially used for work and jobs. Let's look at some examples. We decided to bring on a designer for this project. They brought on 2 bilingual salespeople. So when we bring someone on, it's for a specific position usually. Like maybe there's a special project that we need a specialist for, or there's some kind of new thing happening in a company or happening in an organization, and we need someone specific to fill that job or to fill that role. These are cases where we might use the expression to bring someone on. In the first example sentence, we decided to bring on a designer. It sounds like there's some kind of special project that we need some special help for. For that reason, we decided to bring on a designer. So it's sort of like there's an existing team or there's an existing group or workforce. And for one specific project or for a special reason, a new person comes to that group. So you can kind of imagine it like a boat if it's helpful. Like someone has to come on to a boat. And using the verb bring here shows that someone is carrying someone or leading someone. So it's like the leader of this group or the leader of this organization chooses someone and carries them or leads them to the rest of the members in the group. So this tends to be used, I feel, for more like time-sensitive projects. So perhaps not always, this is not a rule, but perhaps not always for long-term things. Sometimes it can be for short-term projects as well. The second example sentence shows us a situation where it could actually be a long-term situation. They brought on 2 bilingual salespeople. In this case, they could mean the management of the organization. And saying they brought on 2 bilingual salespeople shows they specifically chose bilingual salespeople to do something specific in the company. So the basic feeling here with bring on is that there's some specific reason why that person was chosen. So it kind of, I feel like, elevates the position just a little bit. So those are hopefully a few new ways that you can use the verb bring. There are a lot of phrasal verbs associated with this verb, so please check out a dictionary to see some more examples of ways that you can use this verb. Of course, if you have any questions or comments, or if you would like to practice making some example sentences, please feel free to do so in the comment section of this video. If you like the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you as you study English. Thanks very much for watching this episode of Know Your Verbs, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye. I didn't bring anything. I bring only pain.
Access your free language gifts right now before they expire. First, the Most Common Adjectives PDF ebook. You'll master over 90 common adjectives with this bonus PDF picture ebook. You can download and review it on any device. Second, can you talk about your feelings? You will with the brand new Feelings PDF conversation cheat sheet. You learn all the must-know emotions in your target language. Third, the top 35 adjectives for personalities. Can you describe your personality? This next bonus teaches you the 35 must-know adjectives for personalities, so you can talk about yourself in your target language. Fourth, how to express quantity. How much of the target language do you know? A lot? A little? Learn how to express quantity with this quick 1-minute lesson. Fifth, how to talk about feeling excited. If you want to talk about your feelings, then this next lesson teaches you 13 words for excitement in just a few minutes. And sixth, looking for a new language learning app? With the innovative language learning app, you learn language fast through conversations, and you start speaking in minutes because our conversation lessons are just 3 to 15 minutes long. Download innovative language learning for free for the Android, iPhone, and iPad. To get your gifts and language learning resources, click the link in the description below. Download them right now before they expire. Hey everyone, welcome to the Monthly Review, the monthly show on language learning, where you discover new learning strategies, motivational tips, study tools, and resources. By the way, all the lessons and bonuses you're about to see can be downloaded for free on our website. So click the link in the description right now to sign up for your free lifetime account. Okay, today's topic is the satisfaction of reaching goals. If you made it a goal or a New Year's resolution to learn this language, did you hit this goal yet? Or did you give up a few days later, as most people do with a New Year's resolution? Most people quit and generally don't feel too great about language goals because they've failed too many times before, and so there's no satisfaction there. The good news is this can be easily fixed, so you can actually start your language journey and feel good about reaching goals if you make a small change. So stick around. Today, you'll discover how to actually set and reach language goals, how to enjoy the language learning journey, and much more. But first, if you're looking for new free language resources and downloads, here are this month's new lessons and resources. Be sure to download these now before we take them down in a few days. First, the most common adjectives PDF ebook. You'll master over 90 common adjectives with this bonus PDF picture ebook. You can download and review it on any device. And second, can you talk about your feelings? You will with the brand new Feelings PDF conversation cheat sheet. You learn all the must-know emotions in your target language. Download it for free right now. To get your free resources, click the link in the description below right now. They're yours to keep forever. Now to today's topic. The satisfaction of reaching goals. Part 1. How to actually set and reach language goals. If you ask most people, learning a new language and reaching that goal is almost impossible for the everyday person, which is why New Year's resolutions have kind of become an annual joke, where people are all new year, new me, and then quit a day or two later. But that's because most people also set goals the completely wrong way. Are you guilty of this too? Most people set big, vague goals like, I want to be fluent, I want to speak a new language, or I want to lose weight, or I want to save money. In the case of language, you decide you want to learn, you download an app or get a textbook, you try to stick with it, and by the second week, you're done because the goal is too overwhelming. There's just no way you see yourself becoming fluent anytime soon. And so you quit. And in your mind, it's because it's just not meant to be, because the language is too hard, because New Year's resolutions don't work, or some other excuse. But the truth is, you're quitting because you set yourself up for failure with how you set your goals, and that can be fixed. If you make a simple change to your goals, you give yourself a much better chance of success, and you can actually reach your language goals. What kind of change? Well, instead of aiming for big, vague goals like, I want to be fluent, you do the opposite. You set small, measurable monthly goals. What are small, measurable monthly goals? For example, learn 100 words by the end of January, or speak 1 minute by the end of January. 1 minute and 100 words are small goals. You're not exactly aiming for the moon here. You can also measure 1 minute and 100 words. And you have a clear deadline by the end of the month. Either you reach the goal by the end of January or you didn't. And if you think about it, a goal like 1 minute is almost impossible not to reach. You need to know maybe 10 or 15 lines to occupy that time. And 100 words, that's just a matter of learning 3 or 4 words a day for the next 30 days. And that's the whole point. You make your goals so easy so you can actually start hitting them. And as a result, you hit them, you develop confidence in your ability to get things done, instead of complaining about New Year's resolutions, and the sky's the limit from there. But just because the goals are easy doesn't mean you'll barely learn anything. Let's say you can speak 1 minute of your target language by the end of January, then 3 minutes by the end of February, then 5 minutes by March, and 10 minutes by June. Speaking for 10 minutes in your target language is a big deal. A lot of people have spent more time on vocabulary apps and still can't handle a basic conversation. So by setting these small goals, you allow yourself to succeed instead of setting big goals and then blaming New Year's resolutions. Part 2. How to enjoy the language learning journey. Now, you may wonder, if you're so focused on goals and results, doesn't that take away the fun and enjoyment? And what if you miss a goal? The good news is this is not like school, where there's pressure, where you either pass or fail. If you make the goals small and realistic enough, it's not painful at all to learn. Remember, the reason why people quit is because their big, vague goals are too overwhelming to do in the first place. And if you can reach a small goal, that also makes the learning more enjoyable. Suddenly, you feel like you're on the right track. You're getting better, you're speaking more of the language. And as a result, you're more motivated to keep at it. Just think about sports or video games. It's not so fun if you aren't good and you're losing left and right. But if you start improving and if you get good, it's a lot more fun. And that's exactly what happens once you start hitting these small, measurable goals. So to make language learning more enjoyable and actually doable, set small, measurable goals that you can actually reach. Thank you for watching this episode of Monthly Review. Next time, we'll talk about testing and assessment, a brutally honest way to improve your language. If you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share the video with anyone who's trying to learn a language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. And if you're ready to finally learn language the fast, fun, and easy way and start speaking from your very first lesson, get our complete learning program. Sign up for your free lifetime account right now. Click the link in the description. See you next time. Bye! Great work! Here's a reward. Speed up your language learning with our PDF lessons. Get all of our best PDF cheat sheets and ebooks for free. Just click the link in the description.